Okay, so a lot of you guys probably have X10 lights and don't want to have to pay a subscription to IFTTT just to turn them on and off, but you don't know how to set them up to work with your Google Home. This video is going to show you how to do that. Hey Google, living room lights on.
You got it.
Hey Google, living room lights off.
Okay.
If you've already been using the X10 Home Automation software, you already know the advantages of the switches. Although they don't work with Google Home, there's like a ton of remotes. There's a regular handheld remote, you got keychain remotes, and there's also even the TV remote that can also control the lights. One of my favorite remotes is this wall switch looking remote. It's not actually a wall switch in the wall, it's just a remote that's stuck onto the wall with double-sided tape, but it controls your lights just like a regular light switch would. And then you got this thing. It's like a remote that goes on your nightstand next to your bed or wherever you want it, but it's not actually a remote. It plugs directly into the wall and sends the signals right down the power line, so there's no batteries. And back then when X10 came out, one of the big ideas was it could be controlled with a PC, which is a big deal. But today it's still handy. You can control the lights with your either your function keys, or if you have a gaming keyboard like I do, you just program the keys to turn on whatever lights you want. Okay, so to get started, obviously you need your X10 switches or light bulb sockets, whatever you're going to use. Now X10 doesn't have Wi-Fi because all that wasn't around back then. So how it's controlled is with this box that you see here. It has an antenna. What it does is it receives radio frequency on the antenna, and then it's plugged into the wall and it converts those signals into signals that run down your actual electric lines to your switches or whatever. So how we're going to do this is we're going to use this device. This device can capture radio waves, and it can also be used to transmit them. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Google Home to control this device to send out radio waves, which will be captured by that transceiver, and it will send the code down the line to turn on or off your lights. Broadlink makes multiple different units of this device, but it's called the RM Pro. They also have the RM Mini, which will transmit infrared, which will turn on your TV, whatever, but we're more interested in the RF, the radio frequency, which is the RM Pros. I think they're up to the RM Pro Plus 4 right now, but as long as it can transmit the radio waves, you'll be fine. Okay, so the problem is, for Google to work with our stuff, we need a compatible app, which means a works with Google app. Broadlink does have one. And to find it, you would set up a new device that works with Google, and you have your list. Now I already have it here, but if you scroll down to Broadlink, the only icon you're going to see is going to have this kind of symbol on it. Broadlink makes 3 different apps, but you need the one that has this specific icon for it to work with Google. So now that we know that, what the icon looks like, we would go to the Play Store, we would type in Broadlink, and you can see that one has an appropriate icon. So you would install that. As you can see, I already have it installed. Okay, once the app is installed, you open it. Now, you should see your RM Pro device, but you won't have any remote set up like on mine here, so you're going to have to make one. So we'll tap this plus in the upper right corner, and you can add a device. It's going to be a remote control for IR and RF devices. Here it's going to tell you it's going to go through your RM Pro to control everything. Now here you're going to want to go down to User Define. This is what's going to allow you to make your own buttons. Okay, so let's add a button. First we have to hit by Start Learning. And then we want it to be an RF code. Now we need to use one of our X10 remotes to send out the code we want. So I'm going to use my remote, and I have to hold down a button. And here it learned it successfully. Now this is just so it knows the remote. Now it wants just one press of the button. I want to turn on the light with this remote, so I'm going to hit the on button once. It didn't work the first time, so I'm going to keep doing it until it does work. As you can see there, it took it. So we're going to hit this, we're going to hit yes, and next. Now I did it for my kitchen light, so I'm going to call this kitchen on. You can pick any icon, you just have to pick one. Okay, now here's my button, kitchen light on, which we can test right now to make sure it works with the kitchen. Okay, my kitchen light came on when I hit the button. It won't always work. Sometimes it catches the code a little corrupted and you'll just have to go through the process again, delete the button and start at the beginning. Sometimes it just won't capture it at all and you'll have to start all over and redo this process. I don't know why, if mine's just finicky or if they're all like that. Now that you have the button and it works on the phone, you would think the Google app would pick it up and you could add this device. But at this point, Google Home still won't recognize the button or the device. In fact, you probably won't even be able to link your Broadlink account to it yet because it shows no devices. So first we need a device so that Google Home can link to it. And how we do that is through scenes. The button isn't enough. So we'll go back. Here we have to create a scene. We'll just hit General Scene. You can pick any icon, whatever. Scene name, I just name it the same as the button because we're going to have one scene for each button, which is kind of dumb, but it's the only way to make it work. So back to kitchen light on again. Save that. Now we add device, and we're going to go from our RM remote, and we use that kitchen light on. We can see that it's kind of repetitive. It's like doing the same thing twice. We make sure we have the scene. There it is. It should work just like the button. Turn on the light. Now that we have a scene, Google can see that like if it's an actual device, whereas without the scene, the Google Home app would not see it. Okay, so now we have to go to our Google Home and we have to link the Broadlink account to our Google Home device. So we'll start by hitting the plus. You'll hit Set Up Device. Works with Google. You can also do this through the Broadlink, the app too, but you'll have to select, make sure it's this icon. I already have it set up as you can see. Now once Google is linked to your Broadlink account, we can make what we call a routine. And we're going to make a new one. You can see I have a bunch existing. For the starter, that's going to be a voice command from your Google Home. Since I'm turning on my kitchen light, I'm going to put kitchen lights on. Now when you add starters, you might want to do kitchen light on, kitchen lights on, turn kitchen light on, multiple ways you may say it. Otherwise, if you don't say it exactly, it's not going to work. So think of how many different ways you may say it, and I'd put them all in. Once you got all your voice sayings in, then we go down to the action. Now, here's where we adjust home devices. And since we don't the Broadlink won't show up as a device, so we did the scenes. Here's where we put adjust scenes. We go to it, and we look for our kitchen light on scene, which is right there. Hit done, done. Save. Now, I should just be able to tell Google to turn the kitchen lights on, and it should work. Let's find out. Hey Google, kitchen light on. As you can see, it worked, so we're good. Now we'll have to do the same thing we just went through, but do it for off. You will have to create a scene for on and a scene for off. And you'll have to do this for every button, make a scene for every button. So it's a little time consuming, but it's pretty easy to do.